Welcome back to the Woman of Wellness podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Dahl. I'm so glad to have you here today. And today is an evaluation day. What do I mean by this? Well, my kids have parent-teacher conferences in a week, and I had this thought that it might be a really good opportunity to have some evaluation in your life. I have an exciting announcement to share with you, so stay tuned. It's coming in the episode, but I want to start with a story. I don't like that. Welcome back to the Woman of Wellness podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Dahl, and I am here to help you make peace with food and create sustainable, healthy habits to achieve your health goals. Today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. It is evaluation time. In fact, I had this idea because my kids have parent-teacher conferences in a week, and I think it's really, really important to take time out of your life to evaluate where you're at. If we don't know where we are at, we don't know where we're headed, right? And this is a really great opportunity, especially kind of at the beginning of the year a little bit. Maybe, we're a month in. Everyone said January was long and dreadful. Lots of people were saying that. And just having a moment to pause and consider where you're at with your health and your health goals. There is a quote, and I'm sorry, I don't know who the author is, but it's "The greatest wealth is health." And I truly believe that, because when we have our health, we have so much more, right? We have the capacity for so much more. Think about it when you're feeling miserable. Nothing gets done, right? When you don't feel good, when you're sick or otherwise, when you don't have your health, everything falls by the wayside. So today is an opportunity to evaluate where you're at. And we're going to do this with a lot of self-compassion, because I understand that some of you might be like, whoa, I don't like where I'm at, right? Or just kind of some of that anxiety. So if you're feeling that way, don't sign off. Don't push pause or stop or anything like that. Let's keep going, because my role as your coach is to help infuse a lot of self-compassion in this and recognize that by becoming aware of some of these things, it's going to help you create change, and it's not going to be overwhelming. That is not the goal of the episode. That's not the goal of my coaching, but to be very gentle and nourishing for our minds and our bodies to say, okay, I am going to identify where I really am, where I really want to go, and what I might need to do to change that. So I have a couple of analogies for you, okay? The first is about boats, which I'm not even a boat person, so I am not an expert at this, okay? But if you are, I'm sorry if I don't do this justice, the helm of a ship is the primary control station where everything is controlled, right? The speed, the course, all of that. And when a ship needs to change directions or it needs to speed up, all of that gets controlled in the helm. And different size ships have different, helm needs? I don't know if that's right. There might be more staffing in the helm when it's a bigger like cruise ship versus a single. But basically, it's all these instruments to help steer the ship, control its speed, and chart its course. And there is always at least one person navigating that, making those choices, helping adjust as we go along. And the more people on the ship, right, the bigger the ship, the more people you need in the helm to be helping with that navigation. Okay, so that's the first one, is the helm of the ship. It's really important that a ship, if a ship's going to get where it wants to go, or a boat, it has to have somebody paying attention and controlling from the helm of the ship to make sure that it gets where it wants to go. Okay. If somebody's not there looking and constantly checking, okay, are we on the right path? Are we doing things? Then it could get turned, right? It could get in a very different place. It could end up in a very different destination. And we might not even realize it, right? Especially if you're not paying attention, you're in the open sea and it turns just a little bit. You may not realize how far it can get off course if you're not paying attention. That's the ship analogy. Now I want to talk about airplanes for a minute. Do you know this fact? You ready? It's called the 1 degree rule. Again, I'm not a pilot, but it's called a 1 degree rule. According to this rule, for each degree a plane veers off course, it will miss its destination by 1 mile for every 60 miles it flies. So, here's the example that Google gave me. If a plane is flying from San Diego, California, and it wants to get to Hawaii, if you do a 1 degree deviation from the path, from the start, it would miss the island by 42 miles. That's pretty significant, right? 1 small degree change to 42 miles. So we recognize the power of small changes, both in the direction that we want and not in the direction we don't want to go. The power of these small, tiny changes have big outcomes. If that airplane chooses to chart its course and continue to stay on course, it will get where it wants to go, right? But there have to be pilots in the plane evaluating where it is, what adjustments we need to make, right? Same thing with the ship or the boat. There have to be evaluations in place continually to redirect and make sure it's on the course to where it wants to go. Well, of course, I'm headed in this direction. It's time to take an evaluation of where you're at right now and where you're steering. Specifically with your health and wellness, what choices are you making right now? And I'm going to outline some areas. And this is a great opportunity. You can take this episode one of 2 ways. You can listen to it and just kind of be thinking and have it in your head. And if you really want a powerful action, you could pause it in between each of these and write it down and evaluate. Or maybe you listen to it and then you sit down tonight and evaluate it. But this is really, really powerful. So don't discount this. Make it something that you think about. What choices are you making right now with nutrition? That's your first question. And again, you can pause it, but what choices are you making with your nutrition? How balanced are your macronutrients? Are you getting proteins, fiber, vegetables, fats? How consistent are you with your nutrition? Are you mindfully eating? Are you continually overeating? Are you undereating? Are you sporadic or chaotic eating, not even paying attention to your food? What choices are you making right now with that? What choices are you making with movement and exercise in your life? Are you doing really great and on task in that arena? Are you a little more sporadic? Are you sedentary? Do you think you're doing more than you are? We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Are you consistently too busy to do all of these things, so you're not doing any of them? Ask yourself that question. How are you doing in your nutrition efforts? Consistency with food, mindful eating, chaotic, versus chaotic eating, exercise, consistency with exercise. What about just general whole body health? How are you doing with your sleep? How are you managing your stress levels? Are you too busy? Are you too overwhelmed? Are you emotionally eating because you're using food to deal with life? It's time to be real with ourselves. And you may have some areas where you're crushing it and other areas that feel like, goodness, I can see that. And that's what the evaluation does for us. It gives us a picture. It doesn't mean anything about you, okay? That's something that I really want you to know, is it doesn't mean anything about you. It just gives us a picture about our choices and our habits and the potential for those choices and those habits. And this is a good example, when I have women use a scale for weight loss if they want to, we learn and practice that the scale is a tool to give us data that then helps us make further choices. It doesn't need to be emotional. It can have emotional components like, oh gosh, I thought I was doing better than that. Or yeah, like, that's awesome. What I'm doing is working, right? It's okay to have those kind of emotions, but then you take that next step and say, okay, well, now I recognize that I can utilize this information as data. So you have a little bit of a snapshot or a picture of where you are right now in your choices, specifically in your health and wellness. Consider now, if you continue to make those choices, where would you be in 1 year? Where might you end up in 1 year? If you are making the same choices you made last year, we can probably predict that you'll be in the same place you were last year or right now, right? If you made a little bit of a difference, what could change in a year? I want you to consider a year. I want you to consider 5 years. And I want you to think about 10 years. That feels far, but if you were to keep doing what you're doing right now, where will that put you in 1, 5, and 10 years? Considering your age, right? Recognizing certain things happen differently as we age. If you're not moving right now, how would your mobility be in 10, maybe even 20 years? I used to teach fitness classes, kind of like silver sneakers for elderly population. And it's one of my favorite populations to train because they're not in it for the body image. They are literally in it for quality of life. And I think we forget that picture sometimes when we're a little bit younger and we see more body image. But I loved helping them learn, like, okay, let's sit down in a chair and stand back up. You don't realize how important that movement is, right? Or lifting something over your head so that you can carry your own groceries and put them in the cupboard. Those are things that are so valuable. And we don't think about that right now, but the choices that you make right now are absolutely going to affect the ability later on. What might happen with your metabolic health? Are you pre-diabetic right now? Or are you, struggling to be consistent with your nutrition, so you might be at a higher risk? What about if you're not strength training? What about some, risk for osteoporosis? And again, this is not to invoke fear. I think it's very valuable for us to identify potential consequences, both good and not so good, of the choices that we make. And last week I talked about how you're always the reason that you're stuck is because you're too focused on the big picture health goals, right? The far away things like don't get diabetes. That doesn't get us to stop eating the cookie today. Okay. So I understand that. But it is important information to recognize that if the choices that I make today, if I keep making those choices, I am at an increased risk for this, right? Potentially lower quality of life in general. I will be unhappy in my body. I won't lose the weight. Okay? Now, what if you made today a 1-degree turn? If you picked an area of your life, exercise, nutrition, whole body wellness, right? Maybe your sleep. If you picked one area of your life and you made a 1-degree turn, what could that look like? Let's just say you're sedentary. So no exercise. You decide to go on a walk as many times a week as you can after lunch. Don't have to be perfect, but you set that one small goal of I'm going to eat lunch and then I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk. What could change for you? And the truth is, I think sometimes when we're in that moment, it's hard to see that. It's actually really hard to see, just a 10-minute walk. What's that going to do? I'm not going to lose 50 pounds with a 10-minute walk each day. Have you heard of something called compound interest? In the financial world, compound interest means you put $1 in today, and because of compound interest, it can grow, right? Every time you put $1 in, compound interest, according to interest rates and things, is that it can grow exponentially. It's the same thing with debt, right? We spend more, we spend a little bit more, and that percentage, the interest rate, it dings us and it exponentially causes us to go into more debt. There is the principle of compound interest in health and wellness. I like to call it the ripple effect. When you do better, you feel better, you do better. It's a cycle, right? You feel better, you do better, you feel better, you do better. So you go on a walk each day, and that helps regulate a lot of body things, a lot of hormones in your body, and you choose to eat better that night because you've nourished your body with movement and it's responding, saying, okay, I am totally ready to listen to my hunger and fullness cues, right? Or you make the intention to say, I am going to go on that walk, and that is one step in nourishing my body, and I get in my mind that I am nourishing my body. Who's to say what's gonna hold you back from saying I'm gonna nourish my body in this way too? Don't discount the power of compound interest or the ripple effect. What does a 1-degree turn look like for you? Could it be if you chose to sit down and mindfully eat your food? I don't care what's on your plate. We don't need to go there. That's maybe 2 or 3 degrees, right? If you chose to sit down and say, I'm going to sit down and mindfully eat my food, and I'm going to try to listen to my body, and I'm just going to listen and I'm going to pay attention. Think about the massive difference it would make in your body if you stopped consistently overeating because you were mindful and you stopped when you were full. Mindlessness is probably the biggest cause of weight gain. I'm going to say it. I'm not even going to say probably. It is. Because when we're not mindful about what we're eating, we're chaotic. And then we eat snacks when we're not hungry. We overeat on food. We grab and go. We emotionally eat. If you change that one thing, think about the outcome. If your goal was weight loss, and then we applied the principle of compounding interest, right? Okay, now that I'm 1 degree turned, I'm going to evaluate, how am I doing? How am I feeling? Is there another like shift I can make to help me redirect? You are the captain of your ship. You are the pilot of the plane. You decide where it ends up. And it starts by making 1 degree choices. And so many people are like, no, I need to make 20 degree choices. But could you imagine the force that would happen in the airplane if, let's just say, I can't think of turning left and right, but I can think of going up and down. Can you imagine, hopefully none of you have experienced this, if a plane lost if the pilot was like, okay, we're going down, and we lost a significant amount of altitude in a short amount of time. What's the word? I don't have the right word. How stressful and disorienting and probably painful that would be, right? You would get some whiplash, and it would almost feel like it would take a long time to recover. That's what happens when we try to pack all the habits into one. And we sign up for these programs that are like, okay, make sure you exercise 2 hours and make sure you're never eating carbs and follow this plan. And you're going to do it strict for 30 days. And by 30 days, you've got whiplash, right? There was such an extreme deviation, an extreme adjustment that happened that you get to that point, you have whiplash and need to recover, and then it's really hard to get back to it, right? And you keep doing that. I think our dieting culture is it's like we've experienced a lot of whiplash with dieting because we're in, we're out, we have to recover from it. It's a lot. Think about it. Think about your history with weight loss and dieting and, trying to make changes. How often have you tried to turn 5 degrees instead of 1? And the whiplash is the recovery. And then you get right back into it. It's almost like a roller coaster, right? It's up and down and up and down and up and down, and there's no break. Some people really I don't like the roller coaster analogy because some people really love that up and down. But I don't think we'd love the up and down in an airplane, right? We want it to go smooth. We want to know that those little adjustments are being made to get us where we want to go. What does a 1 degree turn look like? This is where my exciting announcement comes into play, okay? I want to help you. I am here to help you create consistent, healthy habits to achieve your health goals. I'm not here to give you a 30-day plan and say, figure it out. I want you to achieve your best health, whatever that looks like for you. And that's why I created the Women's Wellness Hub. I want it to be a place where you can come and get supported in your journey by getting training on how to implement we have 4 core habits for optimizing any health effort, achieving any health goals. These are the I don't even know, how do we explain this? These are the knobs that have to be turned on for the airplane to fly, right? Like we have to do certain things. We've got to fuel the airplane. We've got to make sure the air system is working right. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. Well, it's the same thing with you. In order for us to go in this direction and to achieve our best health and feel our best, there are some crucial steps, some crucial habits that continually need to be followed and checked in on and supported. And the good news is they're not difficult, overwhelming. They're going to fit your lifestyle. And inside the Women's Wellness Hub, I teach you through trainings how to implement each one of these habits that are a foundation for your wellness to help you then create those habits and achieve any health goal that you have. You have to have these core habits in place in order to achieve any lasting health goal. Period. End of story. Okay? So that's the first thing in the Women's Wellness Hub. The second thing that I wanted to bring in, and this has been on my vision board for a long time, and it's finally happening. I know that women's health has a lot of different knobs and buttons and components, right? That maybe I don't know how they work, right? I'm the assistant pilot or whatever. I'm the pilot, but the person that fuels the plane knows something different. I hope this analogy isn't going too deep here, but we have a lot of different components to our health, right? We have hormones. We age differently than men. We have our gut, right? All of these different things. We might have anxiety. We may struggle with overwhelm. We may struggle with sleep. And I want the Women's Wellness Hub. I've created the Women's Wellness Hub to be a place where you can get help in all areas of your health and wellness. So I have curated and am continuing to curate a resource library of masterclasses from women's health experts so that they can teach you about things like, we have a guest coming to talk about perimenopause in a little bit. We already have a gut health masterclass that's I've filmed and it's going to be there soon. Emotional eating. We've got, I'm excited for this one, mobility and back pain. So like, how do you keep your low back mobile? That's so important. I totally hurt my back the other day, and luckily I know how to kind of work on it. But so many different areas and facets of women's health. And I wanted to put it in one place. And so we are going to have experts teach us through masterclasses, step-by-step strategies in their expert arena. I am interviewing an expert today on, on weight loss without tracking and measuring, which will be really fun. And I've talked about that too here. And this is her area of expertise, and I'm really excited for you to have that one. So we're going to have an area for experts. Now, that's inside the Women's Wellness Hub. Since it's brand new, there's going to be a component of it that's a membership-based program where you're going to get meal plans, recipes, workout plans, what else? Meal plans, workout plans. I'm having a brain cramp. Oh, community, coaching calls, expert Q&As, all of that, so you can get your questions answered. That will be additional in a membership format, but if you choose to be a founding member and join today for the price of just the hub, you will get all of that for lifetime. Okay, so I want to build up this community, and I want you to help me build this community up. And I'm here to help support you long term in your health and wellness goals. You're going to get the core 4 habits training that I have. I also have mental programming training. So how do we get our mindset in the right place? How do we not fizzle out and sabotage our efforts, right? How do we create habits that actually stick? All of those trainings are in there. So you're going to take your 1 degree turn from day 1. And we're going to turn it into a couple more degrees to help you get on the track. More and more degrees, not like just 2, but to help you get on the track that you want to be on. So it's open now. Founding members can join this week, okay? If you are not on my email list, get on the email list, awomanofwellness.com/newsletter, so you can learn more about it. I will also have the link to join in the show notes so you can learn a little bit more about it. But this founding member offer is only going to last for this week. And so if you want to get in, now's the time. You can still join later, but it's going to look different. Okay. I have to sneeze. Oh boy. Okay. I'd love to have you join me. I'm here to support you. I want you to be able to say, I'm on the right direction. I want you to be able to have these evaluation periods and say, yeah, look at me. I've made that 1 degree change and look how much it's done for me, what it's changed for me. And I'm still going and I'm still working, and I want to cheer you on in your efforts. And I've always been a cheerleader for you, okay? This is an opportunity to get that extra support to keep going, okay? And I think this is a really good analogy too, or a good example. You know, when the ship gets a little bit bigger, you need more. Is it helmsman? I'm just going to make that up, but it sounds right. You need more people helping support steer that ship. And I'd love to be someone on your support team. And I hope that you know from the coaching that you hear on the podcast, my approach. It's a very self-compassion, nourish, right? Nurture, while also being direct and saying it's important to see where we are and be honest with ourselves when it's time to make a change. So please join us in the Women's Wellness Hub. It's going to be incredible. You're a founding member because you're going to help me, make it better. And we've got more experts coming in. They're not all, the masterclasses are not all in there right now, but I have several lined up and they'll continue to come in. And so that's why I'm offering this kind of special entrance for right now. So join me. I have one more thing that I want to say about this. And I'm going to grab some water before I do. When we think about our outcomes or what we want to accomplish, it can feel a little overwhelming. I also think that sometimes our what's the word I'm looking for? Our actions are more in our heads than what we're actually doing. I want you to be realistic with your expectations. Right? We just did an evaluation. Now, there's a lot of I've tried everything talk. This is an opportunity for you to say, have I really? Or are you trying everything in your head? The mental overwhelm is often more than the physical action. And I am not immune to this. So this is a very, gentle, maybe wake up opportunity to say, am I really trying? Like, do I have my ducks in a row, so much so that I have no reason to believe that I'm not getting the results. Then you need to probably go get your blood work done and test some things out, right? Because those things exist. But the majority of the time, what we think we do is different than what we actually do. Be honest with yourself. Have you tried everything more in your head than with your actions? Or have you tried everything for 30 days and stopped and started again and stopped and started again? Or have you tried to make your dinners better, but you're inconsistent? No shame here. Information. And honesty. In fact, I had to be a little bit honest with myself this week. I have been going to the gym 2 to 3 days per week. And that's kind of the time that I have. And then my goal has been to get moving my body, like walking more. And I have been really, really consistent with the gym 2 days per week. I haven't been as consistent 3 days per week. And I have a goal that I'm working toward. And I went today and I was going to work at noon or 10 a.m. and I got there at 9:30. And I had like the least, I forgot a headband, a hair tie. It was just not the best. And I had a moment where I was like, you know what? I'm not doing enough for what I want to accomplish. I'm not doing enough, okay? Because I think that's an important conversation. Maybe we do that another day. But for what I want to accomplish, I had to be real honest with myself and say, you know what? You have been slacking. You need to push it a little bit longer. You need to push it a little bit harder. And you need to get more steps in during the day. And I could come up with every excuse in the book, including it has been cold outside and it's hard with a baby. And it is. Those excuses are real. They're not just excuses. It's really hard. I would walk a ton, but when you're out on a walk and you've got a baby that's like, I am done, that is my reality, right? And I'm going to do my best, but I also realize that I haven't been doing probably the best that I can right now. I think I probably set myself up a little bit too high, but I need to do better than what I'm doing now. And that came as a result of me asking myself, you know, where am I at and where am I going? So I want you to think for a minute, what is the vision of the woman of wellness you want to be? What does she do? What is her lifestyle? What is that lifestyle like? Okay. Now consider where you're at right now. What would 1 degree change do to help you get closer to that? I just want to leave it at that today. I'd love to support you in this effort in the Women's Wellness Hub. There will be women in there supporting each other in the same shoes as you. And there will be a community. It's coming in March. So that's still, like I said, this is a founding member. So we've got your master classes. You've got, we do have a workout plan in there. We have the full core 4 habits training. We have some recipes and some meal plans, but the consistent like weekly things and the community and the calls will be coming in March. So, but you'll have my support from day one. Okay. And you can get started on day one, making that 1 degree change. What is your 1 degree change going to be today? And maybe it's making a simple choice to get that support. Maybe that's a simple 1 degree change. To join and get that support to help you steer your ship. Thanks so much for joining me. I am looking forward to it. We've got the next few episodes, we've got some awesome expert guests, and I hope you really love them. And I'll be back next week.